I thought she said she was following you before. She did that again. What you mean? What you mean, symbol?
Huh? Let me do that. Let me bring the strawberry. Take very slow. Yeah.
Any that has been
Particularly about
what he did to
domestic violence. I know many women in today's society have been affected by it. We should talk about it. Don't you think so? It's a very valid topic. No, Excuse me?
Yes.
About this topic, I mean, I understand.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam, so glorious.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. So glorious. How do I move away? Namah Bhutale Bhakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nivesesa Smyavadi Pachatya Desantarini Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Guru Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Gurudev Nitagor Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gora Hari Bol Jai Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, you are welcome to today's Hare Krishna Hari Bol. You are welcome to today's class. And actually, yesterday we were talking about the yoga system, Astanga Yoga. This chapter 6 is dealing with Astanga Yoga. And it was explained that there are two stages The beginning stage is called Yoga Ruruksha. That when one is at the beginning stage, he should never give up his Niskama Kama Yoga activities. But when one arrives at the higher stage of Astanga Yoga, is very advanced. So at the point, even this Kama Yoga activities are like a disturbance. He can focus, sit quietly in a secluded place, and he can focus on his meditation on the super soul without any disturbance. The senses never disturb him anymore because he has learned the art of harmonizing the flow of air within the body through the different processes of breathing processes. And now he's become situated in peacefulness, internal peacefulness. So such a stage is called the advanced stage, called Yoga Rudra. Hare Krishna. Like how much was it? Call the person immediately. Sorry, Hare Krishna, sorry for the distraction. Call the person immediately and call the... Yes. For one who has, but before that, we talked about the qualities of one who is in the Yoga Rudra stage in text 7 and 8. Then 9, these 3 verses, they talk about the person who is in the advanced stage, which is called Yoga Rudra, where the senses are fully controlled. The Yoga Rudra has conquered the mind. So the super soul is already reached. For he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. So it's a very advanced stage of yoga. So this is the higher platform. When one has arrived there, these are some of his further qualities. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. That such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether be it pebbles, stones, or gold. It's a very advanced stage, whereby you see pebbles, you see gold, you see them to be the same. You are completely neutral. That means you have already attained equanimity. It's a higher level of self-realization. Then say a person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest, well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral meditators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with equal vision. So this is a very high level, high, pure level. So the person doesn't need to practice Niskama yoga activities are disturbance. So you can sit quietly in a secluded place and meditate. However, this type of yoga is not recommended for people in this stage. The Krishna is just using it to explain to Arjuna that if you follow Astanga yoga, you can attain the same position that a Bhakta will attain. But it's very, very difficult. Therefore, the advice is that we should go for Bhakti yoga, which is very, very simple, where you have to do everything, but you replace lower taste with higher taste, and lower engagement with higher positive engagement. So this is the stage that Krishna is advising Arjuna to come to. So now, in text 10 to 32, we say Krishna describes the practice of Astanga yoga, first in the perfect stage, and then in the beginning stage. So here, text 10. Yogi yunja satatam atmanam rahasi stita ikaki yatachitatma nirasi aparigraha. A transcendentalist should always try to concentrate his mind on the Supreme Self is to live alone in a secluded place and to always carefully control his mind. It should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Somebody should read the purport, say for us.
Purport. Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna consciousness means consciously to be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman or the localized super soul are also partially Krishna conscious, because the impersonal Brahman is the supreme spiritual rays of Krishna and the super soul of the all pervading partial expansion of Krishna. Thus, the impersonalist and the meditator are also indirectly Krishna conscious. A directly Krishna conscious person is the topmost transcendentalist, because such a devotee knows what is meant by Brahman and Paramatma. His knowledge of the absolute truth is perfect, whereas the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. Now, nevertheless, all of these are instructed here with to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuit so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. The first business of the transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna, not forget him even for a moment.
The person will say, God don't bless, but that is not happening.
Hello? Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in the circulation and avoid disturbance by the external object. He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. And in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feeling of possessiveness. All these perfection and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness. Because direct Krishna consciousness means self abnegation, wherein there is a very little chance for material possessiveness. Srila Rupa Goswami characterized Krishna conscious in this way. When one is not attached to anyone, but at the same time accept everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. A Krishna conscious person will well known that everything belongs to Krishna, and thus he is always free from feeling of personal possession. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject the things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. He is always aloof from material things because he is always transcendental, and he is always alone, having nothing to do with a person not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi. Hare Krishna.
So you see, Hare Krishna, thank you very much. So you see the conclusion. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is a perfect yogi because he naturally accepts only those things that are favorable to the execution of devotional service and rejects all those things that are unfavorable to devotional service. So naturally, it's a perfect yogi. See, so Krishna conscious person. So all what we need to do is to try to become Krishna conscious. Then everything else is taken care of. All this detailed description of Astanga Yoga is given for those who are still interested, who are inclined to do that. But it is possible if you do that perfectly, you can attain the same result with a devotee. So both lead to the same goal. This is what Krishna is trying to explain. But that one is so cumbersome, very, very difficult. So why not take to the simple process of Krishna consciousness? This is the question. Because once you become a devotee, automatically you become favorably inclined. You become disinclined to all those things that are not favorable to devotional service. And you'll be inclined to all the things that are favorable to devotional service. If any association is not favorable to devotional service, you are disinclined, you are not interested. So naturally, you are a devotee, you are a yogi. A devotee is automatically a yogi. This is the point. So become a devotee, carry out Krishna's instruction and be protected. So this is it. So having described the Yoga Rudra stage, Krishna now explains how to practice yoga in that stage. This is where we are. That one must be neurasthenic, completely free from material desires and possessiveness. That it must also be a kaki. It must be alone. It must live alone. That loneliness means only in the association of devotee, in a secluded place. Rahasi. It should not even be accompanied by disciples. If you really want to practice the Astanga, that means you have to leave home and you go to the forest without being accompanied by anyone. That means this is a yoga not for grihastas. Grihasta has no place in Astanga yoga. Matajis have no place in Astanga yoga. Only brahmacharis and brahmacharis. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, welcome.
Okay.
You want to ask a question? Bhakti Prince, you should mute. You should mute your mind. Bhakti Prince, mute, please. Mute your mic, Bhakti Prince. Hare Krishna. So let's continue. So this is what we are saying, that the grihastas have no place in Astanga yoga. Matajis have no place in Astanga yoga. It's a practice whereby you have to leave for the forest, even without being accompanied by even disciples. You have to go alone. You have to go alone into the forest. And when you get there, what you are going to do all will be defined, because Krishna is describing the process of Astanga yoga. Where to sit, how to sit, what to sit on, everything will be described. So it's a yoga for quiet meditation in the forest, in secluded place. So it's cumbersome. It is possible to attain perfection there, but it's cumbersome. This is what Krishna is saying. In his purpose, the Prabhupada brings Krishna's discussion to its highest point by describing and then emphasizing Bhakti, the topmost yoga practice, which Krishna will explain later at the end of the chapter. The verse is emphatically establishing Bhakti yoga as the highest of all yoga, and the Bhakti yogi as the highest of all yoga. So Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. You know? And Krishna means concise, to be always engaged in the transcendental loving. You know? But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman or localized Pasu are also partially Krishna conscious. They are partially Krishna conscious because they only realize some aspects of the Lord. But when one is in direct devotional service, he realizes all the aspects that the Brahmavadis realize. The Paramatma, then he realizes he has a relationship with Bhagavan. So a directly Krishna conscious person is topmost transcendentalist. So this is the point being explained here. And in the last paragraph of the book, Srila Prabhupada precisely said, a Krishna conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna and thus is always free from the feelings of personal possession. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. He's always aloof from material things because he's always transcendental and is always having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi. So this is the conclusion. Then Krishna next describes the basic practices of Astanga Yoga in verses 11 and 12. Who are those who are making noise? Please, Aswini Kumara Prabhu, you should mute, Prabhu. Aswini Kumara Prabhu, please mute. Ask to mute. Then Bhakta Prince, you are asked to mute also. Don't unmute when you are not the one talking, please. Bhakta Prince, mute.
Cannot hear anything.
Bhakta Prince, mute your mic. Thank you for that. Please, let us focus. Verses 11 and 12. Sulsa dese pratistapya stiram asanam atmana nati uchiritam nati chaita jena kusotama taram tutraikagram nama mana kritva yata chitendriya kriya upavisya sane yuyad yogam atma visudaye. I'm looking at it, but I'm not seeing it double. Okay. To practice yoga, once you go to a secluded place, you see the process? Once you go to a secluded place and you lay kusa grass on the ground. Why lay kusa grass on the ground? We shall see that in the purport. Lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin. Why cover it with a deer skin? We shall see in the purport. And a soft cloth. You see? The seat should neither be too high nor too low. Why? We shall see in the purport. And should be situated in a sacred place. That is the yogi should then sit on it very firmly and should practice yoga by controlling the mind and the senses, purifying the heart and fixing the mind on one point. So, purport, please. Purport. Somebody should read the purport, please. Okay, purport. You're not ready to read the purport? Okay, that's okay. That means refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists, or the devotees all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Ardua. And in solitary practice, in solitude practice yoga, where the sacred rivers like the Yamuna and the Ganges flow. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. So the so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefits, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Briha Naradiya Purana, it is said that in the Kali Yuga, the present Yuga or age, when people in general are short-lived, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by various anxieties, the best means of spiritual realization is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama is Bhakti Balam. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. So this is the purport. Very self-explanatory. But the Prince, you should still mute. Has to mute. So this is the process that the aspiring yogi must live alone, free from fear and attachments. He has to sit still, no stand or sleep. He has to sit, sleep, still, erect, and focus his mind. He must sit on his own asana, sit. He has to prepare a seat, not another's asana. You don't use another person's seat. Every yogi must have his seat, because asanas, kamandalus, pots, and cloths should not be shared. In the Vedic culture, it's not advised that you share your sitting, your yogi mats, even your sleeping mats. You should not share it with another person. Your begging pot, which is called kamandalu, you don't share it with another person. Even slippers, you don't share it with other people. So everybody must have his own. So that is the only property that a yogi is allowed to have here. His own clothes should be separate, not share with another person. Unless he personally give it to you as best understand. But you should not share things with people. Then Susadese practice that he must be situated in a very sanctified place. Yes. Stiram asanam atmana. The asana, the sitting place, should not be changed. Every time you go to the same place and sit down. How should the sitting place be selected? Na ati uchiritam. Not too much raised, not too low, because if it's too raised, it can cause some fear. If it is too low, the fear of snake also. Snakes and other creeping things can come and disturb. So it should not be on the ground, but it should be high, but not too high too. So there is moderation and specification for a yogi preparing his place for yoga. Then, and how should the sitting place be selected? Okay, not too much raised, not too low. And Chailagina Kusotaram. Chaila means a cotton sitting place, cotton. Then deer skin. Yogis sit on either the skin of a tiger or the skin of a deer. Why? Because they are in a secluded place, and this skin on deer skin, then the reptiles and snakes won't disturb you. This is a lecture started from a lecture by Prabhu. So these selections should be yoga. Are you ready for it? If you are ready for Astanga yoga, be prepared. Get your mat, get your jet ski, get your pusa grass, go into the forest, select a very quiet place. You put the seat down, it's not be too low, it's not be too high. And it's the same place you have to meditate every day, the same seat. And you have to cover your seat with jet skin because the jet skin will repel snakes and other reptiles. So in this way, you can sit quietly, close your eyes without being threatened by anything. Then you can start to practice Astanga yoga. You see, but it is said that in this age of Kali, Prabhu said in this age of Kali, this is not practical because there are so many distractions. People cannot sit in one place for long in the first place. People are always disturbed by all kinds of anxieties. And you cannot see a sacred place to even go and stay and you want to meditate. There will be a lot of disturbances. That therefore the sacrifice for this age is the chanting of the holy names. Harinama, 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 Kevalam. Kalauna Sieva, Nasieva, Nasieva Gachaya. It's very simple to do. You can do among devotees, you can do alone, you can do it in the city, you can do it on the seaside, you can do it even when in the bus. So it is very, very easy to do. You can do it individually or congregationally. So this is the recommended jagya for this age. The recommended yoga for this age is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So let us grab it, hold on to it, that even in the midst of all distraction, yoga practice has been made available to us out of Krishna's costless mercy. He has reached us through his expansions as a spiritual master. Krishna has come to us as a spiritual master. So let us take advantage of his presence and practice Bhakti yoga. That's the yoga we should practice. Verse 13 and 14. Samankaya siro grivam darayan asalam sira samprikshya nasikagram swam disashanava lakayam prasantatma digatabi brahmachari vratesita manaha samyamya machito yukta asita matpara. Once you hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose, thus with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, once you meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate good of life. Somebody should read the purport. Somebody who can read should read the purport.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Purport. The goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma. The four-handed Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu, and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and the Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in the secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend a so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. One has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is the chief. In the Rules of Celibacy, written by the great sage uh, Yajna Valkya, it is said, Karmanya Manasa Vacha. Okay. The vow of brahmachari is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, word, and mind at all times, under all circumstances, and in all places. No one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmachari is taught therefore from childhood when one has no knowledge of sex life. Children at the age of 5 are sent to Gurukul or the place of spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of being brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it be dhyan, gyan, or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having the sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation. It's also called brahmachari. Such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in the bhakti school, but the Jnana and Dhyan school do not even admit householders brahmachari. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the bhakti school, the householders brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction. Being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 2.59 it is said, whereas others are forced to restrain themselves from the sense gratification, a devotee of Lord automatically refrain because of the superior taste. Other than the devotee, no one has any information of the superior taste. Vigata Viya. One cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. A conditioned soul is fearful due to his uh, perverted memory, his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. The Bhagavatam 11.2.37 says, Bhayam Vidya Bhinivi Vasya Sadi Ishat Aptesha Vipraye Smritha. Krishna conscious is the only basis of fearfulness. Therefore, perfect practice is possible for a person who is Krishna conscious. And since the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see the Lord within, a Krishna conscious person is already the best of all yogis. The principle of yoga system mentioned herein are different from those of the popular so-called yoga societies. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that is it. Krishna, after teaching the various sitting yoga postures, how to sit, where to sit, what to sit on, then Krishna now teaches Arjuna how to meditate. Achala means unmoving. That means fixed, unshaking. That the yogi must not rock back and forth like when you are chanting the Bhakti. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. No, the yogi must sit erect like this. Must sit erect. Your back should be very straight. Then you focus on the tip of your nose like this with half closed eyes, and you are meditating. That is how to practice Astanga yoga, not the one we are doing. So I say all these processes in essence, they are difficult, especially in not recommended. They are not recommended in this age. Krishna is making reference to them, and Prabhupada is trying to analyze them to let us see that they are very difficult. They are not meant for this age. In this age, the yoga practice prescribed for us is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. How to chant the mantra, when to chant it, everything is explained under the guidance. That is spiritual discipline under the guidance of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is there to guide you very strictly. Don't do like this, do like this, don't do like this, do like this, this is the result. So sit like this, you should chant. While chanting, avoid these offenses, avoid that offenses, avoid that offenses so that you can make progress. And don't eat this at a particular time to regulate. You know, the spiritual master is there to coach the disciples on how to practice the Bhakti. But the general practice is very simple compared to this Astanga Yoga type of practice, that we should just become Krishna conscious. Yes. Yes. We should just become Krishna conscious. When you become Krishna conscious, automatically you become fearless and your vision becomes clear. After you are under the guidance of a spiritual master, then you can do your yoga and attain the desired result. So Krishna is explaining this rigorous process to us so that we can compare it with the Bhakti yoga process that is simply given to us. If we cannot take the simple process of Bhakti yoga, then how are we to be able to practice Astanga yoga? We cannot do it. So let us accept that we are in this stage of Kali where there is so much distraction. Therefore, let us accept the package of Bhakti yoga and we do it to our utmost ability and invoke the mercy of the Guru Parampara to protect us and to guide our intelligence so that we can make progress. This is the whole process here. So the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is designed to give us a platform to practice this ultimate yoga, which is Bhakti yoga. You will see at the end, the very last test of this chapter, Krishna emphatically concluded of all yogis, the Bhakta is the best. So become a Bhakta. That is the call. You see? So we should obey this call and become free from all this other. Because here you have to become a strict brahmachari. No, women cannot practice it. Householders cannot practice it. You have to become a strict brahmachari. Then you take your mats and go into the forest. And no disciple should follow you to go and serve there. You go and sit alone and start meditating on the tip of your nose and closing your eyes halfway with erect back, not eating. Just start meditating. How long can we do that? So it's not recommended for this age. So the safe thing is to embrace the yoga for this age, which is the Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. Kalau na asi eva, na asi eva, na asi eva gati anyata. Carry your beat and chant your japa the early morning hour. Chant your japa. Meditate on Krishna, meditate on the mantra, then regulate your senses according to the scriptural injunctions. Clarify your doubts from the Guru. Then you go ahead to practice yoga under the guidance of the spiritual master. So this is the formula. The formula is very simple. Let us accept it and follow it. So the results attained after long practice. The results After long practice, is next described. Is next described. Is next described. Next described. Verse 15. Verse 15. Why am I being echoed like this? Why am I being echoed like this? Some people should mute their this, please. Don't echo me. Please, don't come and make a caricature of what I'm doing. So mute if you are not the one speaking. Mute. You yam evam sadat manam yogi niyata manasaha santim nirvana paramam mat samstam adiga shati. Thus, practicing control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist attains to the kingdom of God for the abode of God, the abode of Krishna, by cessation of material existence. After long practice, he attained the kingdom of God for the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence. So here, a yogi must know the super soul if he wants peace, santim nirvana paramam, the cessation of material existence. A yogi must know the super soul if he wants santim nirvana paramam, the cessation of material existence. He must carefully avoid the desire for mystic cities. Otherwise, he will not progress. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purpose, the ultimate goal in practicing yoga is now clearly explained. Yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. It is to enable the cessation of all material existence. Cessation. One who seeks an improvement in health or aspires after material perfection is no yogi, according to Bhagavad Gita. Many people practice yoga for good health. They say that is not the ultimate goal of yoga. So those who are practicing yoga for good health, they have not gotten it. Good health, then for what? Good health so that you can indulge in sense gratification. The ultimate goal of yoga is cessation, how to give up the bodily attachments and its extensions, possess the sense of false sense of possessiveness. That is the goal of yoga. So you are becoming, if you are a yogi and you are becoming more and more attached, then you are off the track. A yogi should be very, very detached in consciousness. Or at best, a well-situated yogi in this stage, he knows the art and science of engaging everything in the service of Krishna. Whatever comes his way. He does not aspire to gain things for personal gratification. Whatever comes his way is engaged in the service of the Lord. In this way, he can receive so much and yet remain unattached, because he knows the science, the art and science of engaging everything in the service of Krishna. And that is where we are expected to arrive. That is it. Yes. 3 great flaws in the process of karma, jnana, and yoga. Dangers within each of the processes make them dangerous for the aspiring transcendentalists. That is, they each offer powerful temptations. In karma, whether it is karma kanda or sakama karma yoga, one tends to become attached to the fruit of one's work. With jnana, the desire to merge into Brahman, thinking of the glories of freedom, from both anxiety and service, tempts one. Then in Astanga yoga, one tends to desire mystic cities so that one becomes powerful and can even override the laws of nature. These are the temptations of the path. The Astanga yogi has his temptation. of acquiring mystic powers. It's a big temptation. The Astanga yogi has these big temptations of acquiring mystic powers so that he can even override the laws of nature. The Jnana yogi want to become free from everything so that he can become liberated and inactive after attaining the super soul. And the Karma yogi is tempted to become attached to the fruit of his labor. So these three big attachments are on the way. But a Bhakti yogi is free because he learns and masters the art and science of engaging everything in Krishna service. So this is the beauty of Astanga. A Bhakta, however, forever remains Krishna's servant and thus avoids those hindrances by keeping his mind absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Krishna next wants of some obstacles to the aspiring yogi's process. Some obstacles on the part of the aspiring yogi. We are going to see. Nati asnatastu yogosti na chaikantam anasnata na chati swapna silasya jagrato naivacharajuna. There is no possibility of one becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. These are obstacles on the path of yoga. Can someone read the purport? Yes, when nobody is ready to read.
Regulations of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetable, fruit, and milk. Such simple foodstuffs is considered to be in the mode of goodness, according to the Bhagavad Gita. Animals' food is for those in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Bunjate tetu agam papai pachanti atma karanat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cook for himself is not offering his food to Krishna. Not offering his food to Krishna, eat only sin. One who eats sin and eat more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnant of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice. Nor can one who artificially abstain from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting, practice yoga. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than is required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One should sleep more than 6 hours out of 24 hour. 24 is certainly influenced. One who sleeps, sorry, Prabhu. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. So yoga practice means moderation. Moderation is sleeping and eating. You don't eat too much. And to be fixed in that, you should eat only prashadam. When you are eating only prashad, then you are free from that regulation. Or that regulation is automatically absorbed. You eat only prashad. Whatever you eat, first offer it to the Lord. And you automatically will not offer meat of fish or eggs. You will offer those things that Krishna demands. Patram, Pushpam, Palanquayam. Offer some leaf, flower, fruits, and vegetables. Then you take the remnant. So that solves a lot of problems. So the Bhakti Yogi is situated in that regulation automatically. And as the Krishna consciousness is programmed, we can sleep for between 9 and 4 o'clock. And that is enough. So if one sleeps too much, you cannot practice yoga. It's not eligible. If one sleeps too little, it's not eligible. You see? It is even said that the proper eating process is to fill the stomach half. Yes. You fill the stomach 1/2, then 1/4 with water and 1/4 with air. That if the yogi eats too little, the amount of air is increased and the body becomes disturbed. Sleeping must also be balanced. That is further described below. So that is it. This yoga practice, Astanga yoga that we are talking about, requires a lot of strict rules and regulations, which are very difficult to practice now. But those who are serious can still practice that. You can practice that, do your sadhana, and add to that if you think you can do it. But the safest way is to follow the acharyas who have brought the essence of all practices. So that Prabhupada has encapsulated everything into a very simple, joyful kind of package. That if you follow it, you will attain the ultimate result. So that's what we should go for. Otherwise, it is difficult as we are saying it. Okay. Now, sleeping must also be balanced. That is further described below. Verse 17. Yuktahara viharasya yukta chetasya kamasu yukta swapna vabodasya yoga bhavati dukaha. He who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, walking, and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So, we want to hear Prabhupada's purport also, can read. Otherwise,
Purport. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancements in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sacrifice food, Lord Krishna is offered. According to Bhagavad Gita 9:26, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, the person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption or not in the category of goodness. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties the Krishna consciousness. And therefore, any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. Avyata Kalivyam. A Krishna conscious person cannot hear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in service of the Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His idea in this respect is Sri Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of the Lord and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day. And sometimes, not even that. Thakura Haridas could not even accept prasadam, nor even sleep for a moment without finishing his duty routine for chanting with his beads, 300,000 names, as far as work is concerned. A Krishna conscious person does not do any work which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and is unentertained by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material luxury for a person in Krishna consciousness. And because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So that is very clear. No material misery for him. Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal in this respect is Sri Rupa Goswami, who set the example. Haridas Thakur, who set the example. That as far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest. And thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. And since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness. And because it's regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material miseries for him. So this is it, very, very clear. And Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur explained that a yogi's recreation is walking, and Srila Baladev Vijayabhushan mentions that the yogi should restrict his speaking. By controlling all these activities, the yogi remains free from desires and strong in meditation. And more so when he engages all his activities for the pleasure of Krishna, as explained in the purport, he becomes situated in transcendence. So his level is different. Then in text 10 to 17, okay, Krishna has described how to meditate. Now Krishna will describe the perfectional stage of Astanga Yoga. Verse 18. Yada viniyatam chitam atmani evavati state nispriya sarva karmebhyo yukta iti uchyate tada. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, is said to have attained yoga. He is said to have attained yoga. There is a big purport there, but I think you can read the purport on your own, because when the yogi's mind is undisturbed and remains situated in the self, it is called yukta, connected, or as in Srila Prabhupada's translation, well situated in yoga. That is it. Well situated in yoga. Do we want to read the purport? Because there are some details in the purport. Details in the purport that will be very beneficial. Very Krishna.
Let me try and see. That the activities of yogi are distinguished from those of an ordinary person by his characteristic cessation from all kinds of material desires, of which sex is the chief. A perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of the mind that he can no longer be disturbed by any kind of material desire. This perfectional stage can automatically be attained by persons in Krishna consciousness, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 9:18-20. Savai Mana Krishna Padavindayo.
You can just start the translation, no problem.
Okay.
King Ambarish.
King Ambarisa, first of all, engage his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna. Then, one after another, he engaged his words in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord. His hands in mobbing the temple of the Lord. His ears in hearing of the activities of the Lord. His eyes in seeing the transcendental form of the Lord. His body in touching the bodies of the devotees. His sense of smell is smelling the scent of the lotus flower offered to the Lord. His tongue is tasting the tulasi leaf offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. His legs in going to places of pilgrimage in the temple of the Lord. His head in offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desires in executing the mission of the Lord. All these transcendental activities are quite befitting a pure devotee. This transcendental stage may be inexpressible subjectively by the follower of the impersonalist path, but it becomes very easy and practical for a person in Krishna consciousness, as is apparent in the above description of the engagement of Maharaj Ambarisa. Unless the mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord by constant remembrance, such transcendental engagements are not practical. In the devotional service of the Lord, therefore, these prescribed activities are called achana, or engaging all the senses in the service of the Lord. The senses and the mind require engagement. Simple abnegation is not practical. Therefore, for people in general, especially those who are not in the renounced order of life, transcendental engagement of the senses and the mind, as described above, is a perfect process for transcendental achievement, which is called yukta in the Bhagavad Gita. Hare Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So that is self-explanatory. Ambarish Maharaj has shown the example, engaging all the senses in practical devotional service. So the person is situated in yukta. Yukta, yes, connected, or as the Prabhupada translates it, well situated in yoga. So the person is well situated in yoga. Yes, when the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, is said to be well situated in yoga. It's a yukta. So that is the professional stage that we are expected to come to. So verse 19. Yata dipo nibatasto nengate sopamasmrita yogino yata chaitas chitasya nyunjato yogam atmana. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled means always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Purport. A truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence, in constant undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as the lamb in the windless days. A truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence, in constant, undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is steady. It's as steady as a lamb in a windless place. A lamb in a windless place does not waver. So please, who is having the host? Somebody is with the host. You should transfer the hostism to me now, so that we can make a recap of what we have, where we have gone, how far we have gone. Or before that, we should read the 20 to 23 first. But please find out if you are the host. You should transfer the hostism to me. 20 to 23.
Okay, Prabhuji. आज હું host છું તો કરતો ઘડી ઘડી host.
Okay, give me the host. Yatro paramate chitam nirudam yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pasyan atmani tusyati sukam atyantikam yatat buddhigrayam atindriyam beti yatra na chaivayam stitas chalatitatwata yam labda chaparam bhavam manyante mandikam tata yasmi stito nadukena guru napi vicharyate tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samjitam. Translation. The stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi. When one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no gain, no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulties. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material conduct. Purport. This is a big purport. This is a very big purport. Are we ready to read it? Attentively.
By practice of yoga, one becomes gradually detached from material concepts. This is preliminary characteristics of the yoga principle. And after this, one becomes situated in trance or samadhi, which means that the yogi realizes the supersoul through transcendental mind and intelligence, without any of the misgivings of identifying the self with the super self. Yoga practice is more or less based on the principles of Patanjali system. Some unauthorized commentators try to identify the individual and soul with the supersoul, and the monarchs think this to be liberation, but they do not understand the real purpose of the Patanjali system of yoga. There is an acceptance of transcendental pleasure in the Patanjali system, but the monarchs do not accept the transcendental pleasure out of fear of jeopardizing the theory of oneself. The duality of knowledge and the knower is not accepted by the non-dualists. But in this verse, transcendental pleasure realized through transcendental senses is accepted. And in this collaborated by Patanjali Muni, the famous exponent of the yoga system. The great stages declared in this Yoga Sutras. No internal potency is transcendental. Purusutta means material in religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and at the end, that attempts to become one with the Supreme. This oneness with the Supreme is called Kavakyam by monists. But according to Patanjali, this Kavakyam is an internal or transcendental potency by which the living entity becomes aware of his constitutional position. In the words of the Lord Chaitanya, this state of affair is called Chito Dapana Majanam, or clearance of impure mirror of the mind. The clearance is actually liberation, or Bhava Mahadavani Nivapanam, the theory of Nirvana, also primarily corresponded with the principles. In Bhagavatam 2.10.6, this is called Swarupana Vyadati. The Bhagavad Gita also confirmed this situation in this verse. After nirvana or material succession, there is manifestation of spiritual activities or devotional service to the Lord, known as Krishna consciousness. In the words of the Bhagavad Gita, Swarupana Vyatate. This is the real life of the living entity. Maya or illusion is the condition of spiritual life contaminated by material infection. Liberation from this material infection does not mean destruction of the original internal position of the living entity. Patanjali also accepts this by his words, Kavakshyam Swarupa Patista Vasita Sakti. In Shakti or transcendental pressure, it is real life. This is confirmed in Vanata Sutra as Ananta Mayo Bhajasat. This natural transcendental pressure is ultimate goal of yoga, and it is easily achieved by a species of devotional service or Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga will vividly describe in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the yoga system, as described in this chapter, there are two kinds of samadhi called Samprajakta Samadhi and Asaprajanata Samadhi. When one becomes situated in transcendental position by various philosophical researches, he is said to have achieved Samprajakta Samadhi. In the Samprajakta Samadhi, there is no longer any connection with the mundane pressure, for one is then transcendental to all sorts of happiness derived from the senses. When the yogi is once situated in that transcendental position, he is never shaken from it. Unless the yogi is able to reach this position, he is unsuccessful. Today's so-called yoga practice, which involve various sense pressures, is contradictory. A yogi indulging in sex and intoxication is a mockery. Even those yogis who are attached by the sadhis or perfections in the process of yoga are not perfectly situated. If yogis are attracted by product of yoga, then they cannot attain the stage of perfection as it is stated in this verse. Persons, therefore, indulging in the make-show practice of gymnastics, feats, and Sastri knows that the aim of yogi is lost in that way. The best practice of yogi in this age is Krishna consciousness, which is not be fear. A Krishna conscious person is so happy in occupation that he does not aspire after any other happiness. There are many impediments, especially in this age of hypocrisy, to practicing Hatha Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Dhyana Yoga. But there is no such problem in executing Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. As long as material body exists, one has to meet the demands of the body, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. But a person who is in pure Bhakti Yoga or in Krishna consciousness does not arouse the senses while meeting the demands of the body. Rather, he accepts the bare necessity of life and make the best use of a bad bargains and enjoys transcendental happiness in Krishna consciousness. He is cautious towards incidental occurrences, such accident, disease, scarcity, and even the death of most dear relative. But he is always alert to execute his duty in Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga. Accident never deviates him from his duty. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Agama Payano Nitya Tam Tita Sadwa Bharata. He endures all such incidental occurrences because he knows that they come and go and do not affect his duties. In this way, he achieves the highest perfection in yoga practice. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
This is a very long purport. Wait. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me now? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we are hearing you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you.
Okay. So I said this is a very long purport, and the purport is so long that it means that individuals will read it on their own also. But the essence of it all is that, yes, these verses describe the experience of the perfect yogi who has attained the Brahman platform, that his fixedness is similar to that of the Stira Pragya described earlier in Bhagavad Gita 254, that a devotee also experiences such steadiness, but his means to achieve samadhi is easier. It's easier than that of the Astanga yogi. The Astanga yogi eventually achieves this samadhi, become realized in Brahman, become fully free from all external disturbances, and become steadily situated. But the process is more difficult and rudiment. A devotee process of attaining this is very, very simple compared to that of the Astanga yogi. You see, Srila Prabhupada confirmed this towards the end of the purport, that the best practice of yoga in this age is Krishna consciousness, which is not baffling. That a Krishna conscious person is so happy in his occupation that it does not aspire after any other happiness. Yes, there are many impediments, especially in this age of hypocrisy, to practice Hatha Yoga. Very many impediments. Jnana Yoga, very many impediments. Jnana Yoga, many impediments. But there is no such problem in executing Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. So we should take on to the Bhakti Yoga process, which is very, very simple compared to these other processes. But if those processes are properly performed, they will also arrive at this same destination of the Bhakti Yogi. So this is the purport of this verse. And to get the minor details, individuals can still go and read. But meanwhile, let us have a recap of where we have covered, verses 10 to 24, or 10 to 23 or so. Yes. In the capsules. Here, in verses 13 to 14, it is stated that Karmana Manasa Bacha Sarvabas Savada Savatra Maintuna Tiago Brahmacharyam Prachashati. The vow of Brahmachari is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, words, and mind at all times, under all circumstances, and in all places. No one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. So becoming a brahmachari is a prerequisite for practicing Astanga yoga. Grihastha have no place. Matajis have no place. Now, verse 15. Magical jugglery or gymnastics feats that in the Svetasvatra Upanishad 3.8, Tam Eva Viditwati Mrityum Eti. One can overcome the path of birth and death only by understanding the Supreme Personality of God and Krishna. In other words, perfection of yoga system is the attainment of freedom from material existence and not some magical jugglery or gymnastic feats to be full innocent people. As you are seeing here, this is modern yoga. Everywhere you can see yoga clubs practicing for good health so that they can indulge in proper sense gratification. Yeah, that is not the goal of yoga. The goal of yoga is to become free from all kinds of indulgences. Nor does cessation of material existence entail one's entry into the void, which is only a mind. There is no void anywhere within the creation of the Lord. Rather, the cessation of material existence enables one to enter into the spiritual sky, the abode of the Lord. The kingdom of God is everywhere, but the spiritual sky and the planets thereof are called Paramdhama. Paramdhama also. Somebody is to mute. Ramachandra is to mute. Ramachandra is to mute. Yes. Basic practice of meditation. Neither too little, nor too much. That is Bhagavad Gita 6:16. Regulated diet, enough to keep the body and soul together. Regulated sleep, not more than 6 hours daily. So these are the prerequisites for practicing Astanga Yoga. Not too much, not too little. Prasadam, not too much, not too little. Sleep, not too much, not too little. Now, test 18, perfection of yoga practice. The senses and the mind require engagement. Simple abnegation is not practical. Therefore, for people in general, especially those who are not in the renounced order of life, transcendental engagement of the senses and the mind, as described above, is the perfect process for transcendental achievement, which is called Yukta in the Bhagavad Gita. So these activities, devotees engage in them. Don't renounce them. Then in 19, analogy is given, explaining the previous verse, that as a lamp in the windless place does not waver, as a lamp in the windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. And we said there are two types of samadhi, as in the purport of verse 20 to 23, two types of samadhi. One is sampragnata samadhi, and the other one is asampragnata samadhi. What is the difference? Sampragnata samadhi. When one becomes situated in the transcendental position by various philosophical researches, is said to have achieved sampragnata samadhi. Then asampragnata samadhi. In the asampragnata samadhi, there is no longer any connection with mundane pleasure. For one is then transcendental to all sorts of happiness derived from the senses. That means when one becomes purified of all kind of misgivings, after attaining Brahma Buddha stage, then the samadhi is called asampragnata. But the former one, sampragnata, philosophical, after so much of philosophical juggleries, you come to understand that, yes, you are not this body, you are a spirit soul, so constantly situated in that. Then 20 to 23 is still realization of a yogi in perfection. Yoga practice in the age of hypocrisy. The best practice of yoga in this age is Krishna consciousness, which is not baffling, as Prabhupada said towards the end of the purport. That which is not baffling. The best practice of yoga in this age is Krishna consciousness, which is not baffling. There are many impediments, especially in this age of hypocrisy, to practice Hatha yoga. Many impediments to practice Hatha yoga, many impediments to practice Dhyana yoga, many impediments to practice Dhyana yoga. But there is no such problem in executing Karma yoga or Bhakti yoga. No such. Hey. Okay, so this is very simple process. The process of Bhakti yoga, as we have received it from Prabhupada, is the simplest, most powerful package that we can ever receive. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is very, very glorious, very, very powerful, very, very situational, very, very understanding, and is a true preacher, a very powerful, empowered preacher of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he could package this wonderful process in a way that we can just take it easily. So we are practicing yoga even without knowing that we are practicing yoga. We are practicing yoga without knowing. Yes, by dint of Srila Prabhupada's package, just eat prasadam and it is part of yoga. Just dance kirtan and it is part of yoga. Just sing and it is part of yoga. Just sweep the temple environment and clean the temple is part of yoga. Cook is part of yoga. So he has made the packaging so beautiful that anyone can participate in it. So all glory to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, as opposed to the other type of yoga, which is very, very rigorous and difficult and practically, in fact, impracticable in this age. So that is it. So now we go to test the next verse 24, 25. Verse 24. Sanishayena yuktavyo yogo niribina chetasa sankalpa prabhavam kamams tyatva sarvam asishataha manasaiva indriya dranam gramam Viniyamya samantavataha. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with undeviating determination and faith. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of false ego and thus control all the senses on all sides of the mind. Someone want to read for us the purport? Let's nourish our intellect with the purpose purport. But please listen attentively so that you can assimilate the points, key points.
Purport. The yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently pursue the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, one can execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotee and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. Updeshamrut 3. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. A sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal. So the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garud, the gigantic bird carried of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate towards his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garud was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus Garud at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti Yoga, is Krishna consciousness, may appear to be very difficult job. But if anyone follow the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help. For God helps those who help themselves. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much. So the point is that we should practice devotional service with faith, determination, perseverance. There should be great determination to perform devotional service. And we should have full faith in what Krishna has said about how to perform devotional service. And we should go strongly. That without strong faith, one cannot possess determination. Yes. And if we believe neither in the goal nor the method to achieve the goal, how will we remain determined? We have to believe in the goal. The goal is Krishna and going back to the kingdom of God. And the process is given. So we should have faith in the process and we should have faith in the goal. That applies to all spiritual practices. That we require faith that following the process we award success. We have received this process through the Parampara. But we should have the faith that if we follow this process rigidly, we definitely attain success. That faith is needed. That perfection does not manifest quickly, especially for his Astanga yogi. Therefore, the yogi must have fixed determination and enthusiasm, that go beyond even the bounds of one's life. You should have strong determination that this process is authentic and it works. That's what the yogi thinks. Even if I do not achieve perfection in this life, I must continue. He cannot become discouraged and say, oh, this is taking too long. Is it worth it? No. In his purpose, the Prabhupada tells the wonderful story of the determined sparrow trying to recover her eggs from the ocean. The sparrow's eggs, he laid his egg on the shore of the ocean. And the ocean carried the eggs. And he threatened the ocean, he commanded the ocean to return his eggs. It might be ocean with so many things inside, but my egg is so important to me. This is what I know as my own property. I'm satisfied with that. Return my eggs. Ocean, return my eggs. If you don't return these eggs now, I will dry you up. So imagine, small bird threatening to dry up the whole ocean. And in fact, as the ocean delayed, he started his business of drying up the ocean. He will pick small water in his mouth and fly a great distance into the desert, drop it, come back again, pick another one, fly a great distance, drop it, come back again, pick. Immediately the news went around the universe that look at what is happening here on Earth. A little sparrow is trying to dry up the whole ocean, and he has started the powerful business. It's ridiculous that the guy has started. The news went round until he got to Garuda, the king of the birds. And Garuda has the ability to dry up the ocean, and the ocean knows that. So immediately Garuda said, hey, my junior brother is so determined. In fact, I'm attracted by this type of determination. I need to help. So strong determination attracts divine intervention. So as we are endeavoring to do devotional service, if the higher beings, the great sages, the Mahajans, even Krishna also, and Balaram, they see our determination. The Gopis see our determination. The demigods see our determination. Everybody can intervene in helping us move ahead. But first, we have to register unswerving determination. That means on daily basis, we should not fail to do our sadhana. Very strong sadhana we should do. Then constantly we are doing. As long as the green mango remain on the tree, it will become ripe in due course. So with that strong determination, you are doing our sadhana consistently, uninterruptedly. There will be divine intervention in our lives. So all those things that appear to be impossible will become possible. We will attract divine intervention. So this is the lesson Garuda is showing us. Determination. Therefore, in the nectar devotion, it is recommended. Utsahan, Nishayan, Dariet, Tap, Kama, Prabhupada. Devotional service should be done with great enthusiasm and determination. We should be determined, unswerving determination. This is needed. And this is exemplified here by the sparrow. And Prabhupada told this story just to buttress the point that determination, strong perseverance, and enthusiasm and faith are needed in the practice of it. We should not say, oh, we have been practicing for so long. We should not allow any doubt to come. Okay. It's very, very important. So for God help those who help themselves. You see. So it is what we say the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness, may appear to be very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principle with great determination, the Lord will surely help. The Lord will intervene. And you know, by the grace of the Lord, all impossible things become possible. For God help those who help themselves. That we cannot succeed without blessings. Yes, still, we have to show our sincerity by making a determined effort, as mentioned in the next verse. Hare Krishna. Yeah. I think it's your network. Oh, you are seriously disconnected. That's the case. We are going on. Yes, we are going on nicely. Yes, and we are even showing the slide. Very soon we'll conclude now. Yes, in the next 10 minutes, we are going to conclude. So, Hare Krishna. Okay, so that is it. Hare Krishna, sorry for the distraction. Strong determination is needed. So we can, after 25, we can stop. Parliament, Buddha, Samstamana, Pitwa, Nakinshit, Apichin, gradually master with full conviction by means of intelligence and thus should think of nothing else. Please, can somebody read the purport for us? Purport to 25. Hare Krishna. Dina Bandhu.
Hare Krishna.
Dina Bandhu, are you there?
By proper condition.
Okay, somebody should read the purport. Read the purport.
Krishna.
Yeah, hello, I'm here listening.
Okay, read the purport. The purport, Dina Bandhu. Sava Gopi, Sava Maya, you have read, you have helped us so much. Let us hear from this person that said it. We are listening on. We are listening. Purport. Dina Bandhu George Amega, purport. Okay. Sava Mai Gopi, read for us.
Okay, Prabhuji. The proper conviction and intelligence, one should gradually chase sense activities. This is called pratyahara. The mind being controlled by conviction, meditation, and cessation from the senses should be situated in trance or samadhi. At that time, there is no longer any danger of becoming engaged in the material conception of life. In other words, although one is involved with matter, as long as the material body exists, one should not think about sense gratification. One should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Self. This state is easily attained by directly practicing Krishna consciousness. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Go. So Sanai means gradually, step by step. Progress in yoga occurs slowly and steadily. Because a yogi cannot expect instant success, he is required to fix his intelligence and determination through hearing Sastri. To help himself by constantly hearing Sastri, practicing among other devotees. So by strong conviction and determination, cessation, to use his mind to help himself to remain situated in transcendence. So it's a very high level, the level of steadiness, and it's attainable by constant practice and detachment. So this means of success, this mix of success is still explained in the next verse. So let us read 26 also, so that we can stop there. Yato nishalati. You can remember. Manara chanchala astiram. Tata sato niyami ita atmani iba basam nayet. From whatever and wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under control of the self. Last purport for today. Last purport for today, please. Somebody should read the last purport for today for us. Or I can read it.
Okay. I should have read.
Read.
Purport. The nature of the mind is flickering and unsteady, but a self-realized yogi has to control the mind. The mind should not control him. One who controls the mind, and therefore the senses as well, is called Goswami or Swami. And one who is controlled by the mind is called Godas, or the servant of senses. A Goswami knows the standard of the sense happiness. In transcendental sense happiness, the senses are engaged in the service of Rishikesh, or the supreme owner of the senses, Krishna. Serving Krishna with purified senses is called Krishna consciousness. That is the way of bringing the senses under full control. What is more, that is the highest perfection of yoga practice. Hare Krishna.
That is Hare Krishna. That is the highest perfection of yoga practice. Now here Krishna uses 3 adjectives to describe the mind. Nishalati, that means wandering. Chanchalam, flickering, and asiram, unsteady. 3 adjectives used. Nishalam, wandering, chanchalam, flickering, and asiram, unsteady. That by steady intelligence, the yogi must overcome all these mental tendencies. He cannot indulge his mind and gratify his senses. He must know for certain that yielding to the mind will destroy his tranquility. Rather, it should be fixed in the self, not in the thoughts, which may be influenced by the previous passionate condition of the mind. So we should become Goswamis. The aspiring yogis will become Goswamis, to aspire to become master of the senses, not Godas. The Godas means God of the senses. Sabamai. Godas means servant of the senses, and Goswami means master of the senses. That is why in our line, you see that our gurus and sannyasis are called Goswamis. They are Goswamis, they are master of their senses. They do not follow the dictates of the mind and the senses. Rather, they engage the mind and the senses in higher propensities. And that is where we are expected to eventually arrive. as yogis in devotion. So thank you very much. We'll continue from there next week. Definitely by next weekend, we are going to finish this chapter, and that will be the end of this unit. And by the next weekend, after coming weekend, the upper weekend, we are going to write exams for these units. So you should be reading very nicely. I guess you have read a lot, but you will still read more. Next weekend, we'll conclude the chapter. Then within the week, you can read. Then the other weekend, 29 thereabout, we are going to write the exams. So please prepare, study your question bank in the Puva Swadhyaya, in the unit there. Study the question banks. Then you should also study we are going to give you the open book, the essays. I think within the week, I will send the essays to the Swadhyaya platform so that you can write them. As we are writing the exams, we also bring in your essays at most. If you can finish it before the exams within the week, you can send it. But at least we're going to give the essays within the week. I will send them within the week to the platform. And I will even call individuals so that you can start working on them. So thank you very much for today. Thank you for your attendance. And may Guru and Krishna continue to bless you.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. SS. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, in the SS, we have to write it down and give it to you.
Yes, you write and submit to me. You can write it and send to my email also. You write it on the computer, the email, you can send it to me.
Okay. Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
And open book questions.
Only 2 essays.
Open book questions when we have to give.
Yes, I will send the questions within the week.
Okay, then we have to submit in 1 month. When we have to submit?
You submit by the time you write the exam. Yes,
Before
by
we
the time
write
you
the
write the
exam.
exams, you submit.
Before we write the exam, we don't have time. We have to learn also.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe a week after the exam, you can submit that.
Okay.
Yes, we give the time. I will send it this week, definitely, before Wednesday.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This founder Charles Laisi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada
Ki Jai.
All glories to all of you.
All glories to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. You are free to